2025 budget sessions with the department heads and the elected officials. Welcome those that are with us here in the room, as well as any that might be with us online. We'll get right into it. We'll start out with our tax commissioner, Ms. Nicole. She has one personnel request, as you can see, a deputy tax commissioner, and then the other big item on hers is a kiosk. And go ahead.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
It's on.
Here, I selected.
Oh, that's a negative right off. I'm just kidding.
And this just shows like all the transactions. Nicole, you want me to put it with his packets so I can put it on his desk? Yeah. So that shows all our transactions broken down, and it actually shows last year we had 11% increase in transactions in motor vehicle and property combined. So it's got all of our stuff broken out. And like Billy had said, I'm asking for a deputy that is who will be our accountant in our office. So we don't have one currently. We have Amanda who does it. She does her job and the accounting job, and she does a great job. But sometimes it's hard to do both. Like during digest, we had a hard digest. We actually was late on payout because we had to focus on digest and not focus on this. And the second page shows how much money we have coming in. And it would be great to have one person that focuses on that, all of our money, because once a week we pay out to the state. On the 15th, we pay out to the county and the school. And then at the end of the month, we pay out to the state, county, school, and city. Sorry, I'm congested. So we have a lot going on, refunds, appeals, different things throughout the years. And it would be great to have someone in that position, because sometimes, like Amanda has to stop doing her job to come over and do that. And we've done great and not had any issues, but we're only growing and getting busier and busier, and more people are coming in and want to know this about tax sales, open records and things. And it would be great if we could have one person that just focused on that. And then I did throw in there on the back our collection rate for the last 8 years. So we've done pretty good.
Anybody got any questions about her personnel requests?
You'd listed 52,000 for requested salary, and then HR looks like they had base salary of 45 with a total cost for the position with benefits and everything at 78. Are you indicating that you feel like you could not hire at the base salary of 45,000?
No, I didn't get to talk to anyone in HR before they did it. Or the main person, I should say. I spoke to someone and they said, do the average. And I misunderstood. I thought the average of I have a person that's a supervisor, and then there would be this position, and then my chief deputy. So I did an average of theirs, and it was actually an average of what this job title 16 is what they were telling me. So that's how I ended up with a different number than they did. So I understand now. So yeah, I do think with what they provided, which was like the 45 something, I think we could find someone. That was my error. Yes.
And do you think the current person that's in that position would apply for this one and you'd backfill the other position? Is that what your thought is?
No, I do not think the current person would. She's actually my chief deputy. She's above that. She does both.
Okay.
Really, she does 2 positions.
Tell us a little bit about the kiosk.
All right. So the kiosk, it's really exciting. So about 2 years ago, we had a chairman that was interested in it. I tried to get one here at our Kroger. At that time, we didn't have 30,000 people in the county, and they were kind of like, eh. Well, now they've reached out to us, and they are pursuing us to have a kiosk. So we are currently in the kiosk system. So any of our citizens can go to any kiosk in the state of Georgia and use it and pay an insurance lapse fee or renew their tags. And I looked for 2023, we had 2,790 people do it. So far in 24 up until August, we had 2,531. So they're using kiosks we don't have here. So the kiosk is typically $28,440 a year. That's if no one uses it. So how it pays for itself is every time someone uses it, there's a transaction fee and that pays for the kiosk. So we need to average about 600 transactions a month for it to pay for itself. The kiosk company has reached out. They are willing to waive the fee for 6 months. So that's why I went in and actually adjusted my request to 14 to 220. So that's if no one used it for the whole year. That's what it would cost us. And she said if we used it for a year, we didn't like it, or we didn't think we were getting enough business, we could take it out for no fee. And they're currently updating the kiosks. They're putting them out now, and we would get a new one. The new one also does driver's license. So that's something that we don't have here in Dawson County.
Well, I think people would use it, obviously, because if we got 20-something hundred people using it in other counties to get their tags, they don't want to have to drive, and they're just there going,
Oh, yeah.
okay, I'll just get my tags, because it works very well, because I know I forgot one time. And it was on a Sunday, and I thought, my wife called me and says, did you get the tag? And I'm going, no, not. So I said, well, there's a Kroger right here. I see if I have it. And it
Mhm.
was very simple. I mean,
Yeah.
very simple process.
And it's great. It's open obviously longer hours than us, and it's
Yeah.
open on holidays. I mean, it's open as long as Kroger's open. It's always open. And even if like we have one in Dawsonville, and let's say people come from Forsyth.
Yep,
they're
they can
right
use
there on
it.
the line, they use it, we get that transaction fee to help pay for our kiosks.
I think it's a good idea.
Will ours be the updated one with the license feature?
We're gonna go ahead and start with a new one.
And it
And
goes,
we get the fee for the license, but DDS gets the money.
it goes inside the Kroger is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. And then hypothetically, as you increase investments in technology, it reduces your labor cost long term. Is there an ROI on that?
No, I don't have one. I don't have anything prepared for that, but I would say it will.
What's the closest Kroger that has one?
Right now, exit 17. That's the one incoming. Is that Browns Bridge? Okay, thank you. I was trying to think of the road. There's one there. And then other than that, the closest one, there's one in Gainesville, and it's actually over.
That's the hospital.
Yeah, yes.
It's like you go past the hospital and it's that big Kroger down there. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jesse Jewel. And right now,
It's off of-
oh, Freedom, yes, yes. And right now, there's none north of us. So Dahlonega doesn't have one, like White County, all of that. And last I checked, which I talked to him about maybe 2 months ago, Pickens County didn't have one either, so.
And it's a deal worked out with Kroger where there's no host fee or anything like that, that Kroger, it's a benefit to them.
Yeah, it's a benefit to them.
Talk to them and they're comfortable putting it in.
So actually the kiosk company
Okay.
does all of that. And I'm assuming they get numbers and things from them because they are really wanting to put a kiosk in our Kroger.
Sure.
So I'm sure the traffic and stuff.
And so it's 28,440 if we don't meet the transaction amounts, correct? So
That
would be
is-
for a full year if nobody used it, but each 395 fee goes
Oh.
towards that amount. So if
Yes.
we didn't quite meet it, we still wouldn't have to pay the full amount on a month, correct?
Yes. So we might, like I talked to her and she said, sometimes counties, you may have to pay for the first year or two a little bit. And that's why she said that she would waive 6 months for us. So it would even be if no one used it, the 14. But she said usually as people realize it's there and they do a whole like grand opening thing and even give us the promotional items so that we can put it in the paper to try to really encourage people to,
Kroger and that company. So why
Yeah.
wouldn't they push it?
yeah.
It doesn't sound like I mean, it doesn't sound like we need to market it as much because it sounds like they have that handled and we just will reap the benefits.
Oh, yes.
for a year or so.
Yeah, and I would say, they're a kiosk company, they're all about, profit for them. They've probably done the research and know that it will be profitable to them there. That's why they are very much wanting us to have one, which I think would be great for our citizens.
What's so there's got to be the fee is $3.95. So the kiosk company, how do they produce revenue? I mean, is there
Get the
additional
fee.
fee on top of that?
No?
Get the
Well,
fee, right?
you're what?
They get the fee.
They get the fee. They get the fee. It pays
That's how
for
they
the
make money.
kiosk.
They get the $3.95 fee.
Yeah. So they get it to pay for the kiosk. We only pay if we don't make enough on it.
But like when someone else comes in, like you said, if they come from Forsyth County and use it,
Mhm. We get that fee counted towards ours ATM or our
We don't get
kiosk.
the actual fee.
Yeah, we don't actually get it.
no, but it counts towards our.
Yes, yeah, sorry.
So
We're
how
hoping
much
to
are you
get more than
asking for?
28,000 in fees.
Right, but
So
after
Yeah.
we'll
6
take that.
months, well, technically a year, but after 6 months, we pay
Technically
the
half.
14, at worst case scenario,
Mhm.
reassess and see if it's something we want here or not.
Yes, and we can take it out with no fee. Yeah, yeah,
So if we go above the transaction fees to get to that 28,440, which is 600 transactions 12 times a year, if we go above that, do they still keep that transaction fee?
yes,
Not
we
a
don't
money-
get anything off
not a
of it.
Revenue generator.
Yeah, so that's how they,
Mainly just a benefit for the citizen
yeah,
up above that. And I think we'll get there.
Yeah,
Consider people buying, like when I did mine, I got 4 tags at the same time.
yeah.
So,
Well, and I think especially the driver's license, like I think the the kiosks are supposed to be this month or next month with those. I think that's gonna bring in a lot of, yeah. I mean,
Well-
especially here, we don't have a DDS, so.
Will those transactions go towards the total amount of transactions?
Mhm.
And so you don't need anything cash wise day one. It's just a matter of what they invoice us for after the 6 month time, correct?
Yes, or probably the end of the year, what they invoice us
They just
for.
invoice it.
Mhm. And so that's why I put it in for the 14, because really my hope is I'm asking you for 14, but we won't even use it or need it, is my hope. Or maybe just a little the first year and then going forward, it'll start paying for itself and we won't need anything in that budget line. And we did put it in its own budget line so that we could keep track of it.
Then, my other question for you is in, technical services computer,
Mhm.
where that went to 34,308. That's due to what we approved, correct?
Yes, that's due to my system upgrade.
Yep. Okay. That's what I thought.
I do have one question. On the
Mhm.
kiosk,
Mhm.
is there like a software or something that you're updated every time a transaction happens? Like, will you be able to see that or will they have to, like, can you go in monthly and pull the numbers as to how many
Oh.
transactions are being done at that kiosk?
Yeah. mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we can pull individual kiosks. Since we're in the system, we can see every kiosk. And that's like, I don't know, whenever we started our budget stuff, that's when I pulled these numbers to see how many we had in
Gotcha.
Dawson County for
Okay.
our citizens.
Okay, perfect.
So we can see that.
Any other questions for Nicole? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have our county manager, Joy. And he's going to talk to us about some organizational changes as well as some a deputy county clerk associated with that. And retirement. Still.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start with the County Administration Department. There's no significant changes. I will make a note that we are reducing our training budget for next year. This current year, we had planned a staff workshop, which was more of expense. Actually, that workshop takes place next week, but we do not plan to have those funds needed for next year or the same amount of funds. So that's a significant change to be noted. There's no items requested for capital items in county administration. We are requesting personnel-wise a supplemental position for deputy county clerk. And that's attached in your packet. And this will be a position that we'll utilize to train to be a backup for the assisting county clerk, and also have some depth in our organization on those job duties. And if I could, at this time, I'd like to note that I am recommending a enhancement for our retirement plan for FY 25. I think the board has seen this information based on a couple of years of research. And I did provide you with a copy of that memo. I'm not going to read the entire memo, but I would, if you allow me to read the recommendation, which is on the second page of what's actually being proposed for consideration related to retirement. Certainly, retirement benefits are, a challenge to provide those benefits, but it's certainly something that we've heard from the employees that they're interested in some enhancements. And I'd like to read this recommendation, which again is on page 2. Recommendation is to increase the county match from 1%, increase the county match by 1%, which would be from 5% to 6%, and that is for the defined contribution plan. This will result in a budget increase of approximately $240,000 in FY 25. However, the actual expense of that is somewhat less because we do not have full participation from eligible employees. Currently, 240 of the 330 employees in the defined contribution plan participate. And of these 240 employees, only 189 fully participate at the full 5% match. Therefore, the actual expense is somewhat lower. Also, that recommendation provides for employees in the defined benefit plan, the old retirement plan, with an option to participate in a 1% match retirement benefit in the existing 457 defined contribution plan. So those that are in the defined benefit plan would have an option to do a 1% match in our existing 457 plan. This is a fairly small number of employees. There's 29 employees that are still connected to the DB plan. 18 of those are active. Our retirement plan administrator, ACCG, we've been communicating with them and they've agreed to be able to provide us with this option for current participants in the DB plan. Again, this would be an enhancement option to help people additionally save for retirement. If the cost of this recommendation for the 18 active employees, if everybody participated, it would be about $16,000 for FY 25. Likewise, there are 11 active employees that are in the DB plan who are drawing in-service benefits. There's just a handful of those folks that have already, essentially retired, but are still working here and drawing in-service benefits. This plan could be offered to them as well. The cost for this option, if all 11 in-service employees fully participated, would be approximately $7,700 for FY 25. This recommendation is, I think, reasonable, and it's also an apples to apples. It affects every single employee. It has this option available to them. And again, I present this for consideration. I realize it's a lot to think about, and I know we've been doing a lot of work on retirement benefits, but I thought now was the appropriate time to at least ask the board to consider that and note it.
Any questions on that before he moves to the next? Okay.
Shifting to the planning, it's a little different this year. Part of the planning department, we're considering a reorganization and a rebranding of sorts. And I'd like to read and expand on this memorandum that I've supplied to you, and also this new organization chart. And certainly go through it in detail. This is a pretty significant change, something we've been working on for a few months. And let me read from this, and we'll certainly expand and ask questions as needed. Attached to this memo is a new proposed organization chart that outlines the reorganization of the existing Planning and Development Department into a newly titled Community Development Department, changing the name of the department to Community Development. These changes are proposed for the following reasons. A rebranding of the title better encompasses all services related to the building inspections, which includes fire protection permitting, planning, zoning, land use, code compliance, plan reviews, environmental services, licensing, and permitting. Number two, again, the reasons for this is to provide the best customer service experience for the community. We're trying to provide one stop, be able to get everything under one umbrella. Number three, to streamline these services, provide faster response times to our customers and to all of the development community. And number four, to have a further ability to cross-train staff in more disciplines to create greater institutional knowledge and back up staff in key positions and areas. We are lacking depth in some areas. I think this will provide an opportunity to have more depth. We are, still a fairly small organization total, and the more knowledge the more people that have the more knowledge, the better. Number five, to provide communications and knowledge sharing among different divisions and staff. You can't put a price on communications, and this will allow us all under one umbrella to communicate a little better. Number six, to provide additional opportunities for staff development and training and promote teamwork on projects that cross over into different areas of expertise. Currently, this, again, us being somewhat specialized, people are kind of pigeonholed in one area. This might create new opportunities for them, additional opportunities to get different training. So I think for long-term staff development, it's also a plus. I want to go through it point by point on what the changes are. And I'll read, but also we'll try to add as we go. All the essential functions that we're currently performing will continue. The following bullets are going to highlight the specific staff changes in the area of concentrations. With this redevelopment, with this reorganization, there would be two new positions requested. One would be, and that's again, that's following along on your organization chart there in blue, light blue. The Community Development Director would be a new position. This position will manage the day-to-day operations and staff of all divisions to ensure that all services are provided in a timely and professional manner. A second new position, and we'll talk about that a little bit more down lower, but is a plan reviewer that's going to focus on erosion and sediment control. Currently, the county has requested local delegation from the state perform soil and erosion plan reviews and permitting, including land disturbance permitting, LDP. This function is currently performed by the Georgia Soil and Water Conservation Commission, which is a state agency. Staff changes at the state level are occurring, which will likely increase the state's timeline to complete its reviews and permitting, likely slowing the development process. Currently, it's done locally. I understand that staff member with the state locally is either, I'm not 100% sure, they're either retiring or going to a different position. And our plans would have to go down to the Athens office on Gaines School Road to be reviewed, which could create some slowdowns. It's our desire for Dawson County to provide this service in-house and locally for improved customer service. If we're able to do this in-house, we can turn them around faster. We can have more input. And this is quite common. It's kind of a growing thing. Quite common for cities and counties to provide that service locally with the delegation of the responsibility from the state. And I feel very likely they will approve our request to take over that service. So that's the new positions, two new positions. Getting down into a little bit more into the nuts and bolts of the different divisions that will be created. The first division is building services. And in that, you'll have building inspections, plan reviews, fire plan review services will be in this new building services division. The existing building official position will be retitled Building Inspections Manager. A plan reviewer from the fire position is created from an existing position, which is currently in the fire department, which will be, some point will be transferred over in FY '25. Again, not all this occurs January 1st, 2025. That particular area, it'll take a little time. Again, it's been our desire for some time to be able to build up, to be able to do most of our fire plan reviews in-house. We currently use a third-party vendor, which does a fantastic job for us. They're doing a great job for us. But we would like to, and we'll certainly use their expertise going forward on some developments. But the goal is to be able to have that service provided in-house as well going forward. Again, it won't be overnight, but that's the goal. The second division, planning and zoning, becomes its own separate division, which providing land use services. The existing planning director position is retitled Planning and Development Manager. And they have some support staff there as well, which is existing staff. A newly titled division, Code Compliance, is developed and replaces the title of Marshal's Office. The existing Marshal position is retitled Code Compliance Manager. This provides a rebranding to emphasize Dawson County's mission to provide enforcement of local ordinances and services and betterment to the community. So that's changed there. An environmental resources division is created, which includes a new plan reviewer, which we talked about a moment ago. That's where the erosion and sediment control position will sit. And the existing position of which we already have a development service representative will be in that division to focus on field inspections related to all environmental concerns and compliance. This division will also focus on future needs related to tree preservation regulations within the county. That's something that we've heard our communities wanting to get more of a focus on, and that'll be a future task for that group. It is expected due to growth and forthcoming regulations that this division's responsibilities and services will increase in future years. I think it's been said before, probably by me, that the expectations of the community, the expectations of the state, we have just got the tip of the iceberg. Just based on my past experiences, we're going to be asked to do a lot more related to environmental services. And this will create the framework to be able to expand easily to meet those mandates from the state and to meet the expectations of our community. Again, it's getting everybody working together and not fragmented on that particular area related to development, erosion controls, and those type things, getting everybody on the same page. Again, these positions will work in tandem with our Public Works Department, which has our MS4 program, which is slightly different than what this will be doing, but they'll be working closely together. The last division, last but certainly not least, very important, the licensing and permitting division will focus on those type services: alcohol, short-term rental, business licenses, and et cetera. It will also provide administrative support to all the other divisions in the community development, as well as reception and phone duties. One of the things I've heard from the community, from our customers, and from this board is that we need to be able to be responsive as possible. And that sometimes that takes more people, or at least more people assigned to being able to get folks an answer, either it's on the phone or via electronically, and we'll have more people focused on that portion of the customer service. Also, you see on the chart, just to note, there is an existing development services representative position. This person will provide technical work, our work orders, which is our NGov system. They will also handle payroll. That'll take that duty off the director, and administrative support for the new director and all divisions. So there's some administrative positions that will help support everybody. A lot of these folks work in the field, and they're not in the office all the time, so it's necessary to have some administrative support as well. I know that's a lot. I know I said a mouthful. Be glad to ask any questions. A lot of thought was given to this. Again, as I stated earlier, I really feel like this is necessary and going to be beneficial long-term. I think it's going to provide better customer service. I think it's going to help us work together better, communicate better, and just be able to accomplish our mission more effectively.
Questions for the county manager? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our next department, which is going to be our Emergency Services Department. Chief Lees.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. So we have a few increases requests in our line item budgets. One of them Joey just talked about is Safe Built. Currently this year, we've been funding Safe Built through salary savings, which we will not have next year. So we're asking for $50,000 to be included into this budget. Even if his plan goes through and we bring plan checks in-house, I think the intention is to keep Safe Built active for larger, more complex processes, plan checks. Another one is I'm requesting a $15,000 increase in EMS equipment and repair. As we worked through, as I continue to work through the processes in the department, it was found out that we don't do any preventative maintenance on any of our gurneys, any of our power equipment, our stair chairs per the manufacturer. So if we were to have a malfunction and drop a patient or somebody gets hurt and they find out we're not doing preventative maintenance, we could be held liable. So I'm requesting $15,000 to do that annually for all of our gurneys and stair chairs.
Let me ask you, is that a change? Because we used to do that.
It just, it was
When I
not
was
being
there,
done when
we
I,
did that every year.
yeah, it was not being done when I got here and I wasn't aware that it wasn't being done. I was just made aware of it a few months ago.
Okay.
And then a couple that I didn't include initially on the budget that I just want to highlight is under professional services in EMS. I would like to add $12,000 in professional services for our medical director. Our medical director has been our medical director for, I think, 10 years roughly, and he's been doing it for free. His time is being stretched. He's I believe he's an ER doctor over in Gainesville. And his time's valuable, and we're having a really hard time pinning him down and getting help from him. And so I would like to be able to offer him something for his time. He's done a great service to us for 10 years for free. So I'm requesting the $12,000. Also in 3630 medical supplies, I'm requesting a $25,000 increase to our medical supply budget. We're currently budgeted $100,000. We have 3.5 months left, roughly 3.5 months left in the year, and we're down to $10,000. And that is purely because our call volume, we're up 10.5% in our call volume, and the cost of everything has gone up. And so we are definitely going to run out of money before the end of the year. So I'm going to have to come and ask for more money for medical supplies to even get us through the rest of this year. We're budgeted for 100,000 now, and I'm requesting an additional 25,000 for next year. And that's it for the line item stuff. I can move
Could
on.
I ask you one question
Sure.
about Safe Built? I understand, when someone turns in plans, there's fees, permit fees, review fees.
Correct.
It's somewhat of a wash, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe we're actually, right now, we're making more money on the plan checks than we are paying out to Safe Built.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
On the emergency management coordinator,
Mhm.
I see where the requested salary is 55,277, and that I see in your memorandum that you won't be actually filling that until the third quarter of 2025.
That's my intention.
So we really won't need that full amount though, correct? Because it'll only be for the fourth quarter?
Yeah, the HR did all of the calculations as far as all of that. So
Okay.
but I think the total comp, I think the idea was to give you the total comp.
It is. I'm just making
Yes, that
sure
is
for my
correct.
own, for budgeting, if we
Yes.
were to approve this, we're really looking more towards 2026 because we would only need a very small portion of it for the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
for-
probably August, September next year.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Under capital requests, repaving of Station One, I sent you all some pictures. It's falling apart. In front of the station where the engines pull out, it's actually sinking. So every time the engine pulls out, it hits a pothole, basically, which is gonna wear and tear on the engines, which are very expensive to repair. I've been told that it has never been completely repaved, and every time it rains hard, it gets worse. We're getting potholes all through the parking lot and stuff. So that's, I think it's important that we keep up on our infrastructure for the county. And the second one is hose replacement. Last year I requested 100,000. I was given 50, which was great. We were able to replace a lot of hose. This year I'm requesting the additional 50 to finish that out. And that'll put us in really good shape for at least 10 years plus for hose.
What is the cost of a section nowadays?
It depends on the size. The 5-inch hose, the very large hose could be up to $1,000 per 100-foot, all the way down to, $150 for a 100-foot section of 1.5 inch.
Is there the possibility, I mean, it's just victim of circumstance where we're at now, where we're replacing all these at one time, but is it reasonable to say we should be replacing 10% if they last 10 years, 10% every year, and that way we are on a continuous, that way it's not just hitting you all at once and you got 10-year-old hoses at one time?
Yes, and we're putting that together now. And the reason we didn't take that approach now is because the record keeping wasn't there to be able to tell us how old some of this hose was, when it was purchased, things like that. There was just no records.
Okay.
So with this, we're able to start fresh and we'll have a very good record and be able to move forward with that.
Okay. So you may add 10% each year as you move forward, and then you're not hit.
Possibly, yeah.
Okay.
The next one is wildland fire PPE, protective equipment. We currently don't have any wildland fire protective clothing. And so when our crews, we're starting to come into what our wildland fire season is, the fall and early winter, we're sending our crews out in their station uniforms, and many of them are wearing tennis shoes. You wouldn't walk through a campfire in tennis shoes, but that's basically what we're asking them to do. They have structural firefighting gear that they can wear, but those boots are not made for ankle support. And if you're hiking up and down hills, you're not going to go hiking in rain boots. And that's basically what they're doing. So in order to get them the proper gear, I'm requesting the $100,000 to outfit the entire department with boots, the proper Nomex clothing, the helmets, to make their job safer.
How many wildfires did we encounter in the last 12 months?
I don't have the number offhand, but I would say 50.
50.
Yeah. And the last capital request is actually computer software. It's Operative IQ. It's for our medical supply tracking. As you can imagine, with all the medical supplies that we use daily, keeping track of that is very, very hard. And what we're finding is we're having to dispose of a lot of things that expire because we're not able to keep track of them on the shelf. As crews use supplies, we're resupplying them, but we don't often know that we have some things that are going to be close to expiration. This software, what it will do is, as we resupply, or as we get the equipment, we order it, we get it, we can scan it into the system. It'll automatically update the expiration date of that, how many we have on stock. And as we restock the equipment, it will tell us, okay, you're down to a certain number of whatever, you need to reorder. It'll also tell us, hey, you've got X amount of things that are going to expire in 3 months. Rotate those in first. Make sure you check the dates, rotate them in. And so ultimately, I believe it's going to save us money in time, and it's also going to make it more efficient for us to restock. It's technology. We're trying to upgrade what we're doing on a pad and paper right now. Any questions about any of the capital?
Is on the software, I'm assuming it is scan. I mean, I know you said scan, but is it, like a register scanner that?
Yep. Actually, they use smartphones. It's an app on your smartphone. So the paramedic crew that comes out on the ambulance, if they work a call where they've used a bunch of equipment, they go in, everything will be in bins with barcodes. They'll scan it with their phone, put in how many, oops, sorry, they'll put in how many they used, and then it will subtract that from our inventory.
So it can be used by anybody in the department
Correct.
and so it doesn't have to be a battalion chief or.
That is
or-
correct.
Does that integrate directly with the supplier so they automatically refill?
Yeah, there's multiple suppliers that use that integrate with that. And it also, if we wanted to, we could actually integrate it into our reporting software, that when the paramedic does the report and says he uses X, Y, and Z, it would actually filter back. We haven't looked too much into that because the reporting software tends to nickel and dime every time you want to add something to it. So we really haven't gone there yet. But it is possible.
Seems like, yeah, I mean, just naive. I mean, it seems like some vendors may want you to use that, so they're automatically refilling on a continual basis. I mean, is there any of them that are offering that from their side of the table to say, look, if you use this software and use us as a vendor, then we'll provide this?
That's actually how we found out about the software. And initially, I was under the impression that the software was for Boundtree Medical, which we get most of our medical supplies from. And they wanted us to get into a 3-year contract that said, you will spend X amount of dollars, and it increased every year. And I didn't like that. I was like, no, we're not going to have that. I since found out that it is actually a standalone software that we can buy and use with anybody.
And that's a once a year cost? That's our subscription?
It would be a subscription, but it drops down to like, I think it's $9,000 a year, dependent
After the initial.
after the initial.
Do you know a rough guess about how much medical supplies we are having to throw away due to expiration?
They've been tracking it for several months, and we're at about $800 a month of stuff that we're throwing out. And a lot of that is drugs that expire that we can't
And you
use.
said the subscription going forward is going to be about $8,000 or $9,000 a year?
Yes.
So it's about a wash then.
Yeah, the spoilage would balance it out. Okay. Personnel requests, emergency management coordinator. This one, right now I have 3 division chiefs that assist me with EMS, fire, and fire prevention. Emergency management is a whole nother skill set and has a whole nother set of requirements through the state. We're constantly having to update all of our plans, attend multiple meetings. I'm finding that I'm having to not go to meetings because I can't, they're overlapping. I don't have enough time. I currently have a deputy EMA director who is our logistics officer. So he's trying to do 2 jobs, and he's actually taken a lot off of my plate by attending a lot of these meetings and updating a lot of these plans through GMA and FEMA. The planning process for all of these is important, because if we're not up to date and we keep up on all of our annual training for emergency management, when a disaster strikes, if they declare a disaster and we go to file for reimbursement, they're going to check to make sure we're up to date on all this stuff. And if we're not, we could lose the funding. They could say, no, you're not keeping up on what you're supposed to be doing. Therefore, you're not eligible. The other thing too is our stakeholders and community partners are very important. We're constantly talking with private businesses. We're talking with churches. We're talking with all of our partners, and those relationships take time. And over time, you have to keep them going. You can't just go one time and talk to somebody and then expect when things happen a year later that you still have that same relationship. So there's constant meetings, there's constant upkeep of that. Also, we work very closely with the schools. All of the schools' emergency planning, active shooter, all of those things come through me for review and approval, which takes time because I have to go out to all the schools. I have to meet with the principals, approve the plans, get them to GMA, submit them, things like that. So there's a very large workload on top of everything else that I'm trying to do. So I'm requesting this position. And again, as Ms. Bruce said, my intention is to fill it if approved in the 3rd quarter of next year, which will coincide with the completion of the new EOC.
And maybe it's in here somewhere, the equipment cost. Where's that at? 73,000. What's that for though?
Most of that is a vehicle.
Vehicle.
Yeah. About 70,000 of that is a vehicle. And obviously that would be
Okay, there it is.
not a one-time cost, but a initial startup.
Yeah.
that would last for a while. Any other questions on that? Okay. The last one is Miss Margaret. Margaret Hahn came over from planning about 6 months ago to emergency services into a part-time temporary position. She's been working with our Fire Prevention Bureau, doing a fantastic job. And I'm requesting that her position be, emergency services currently has a frozen part-time administrative assistant position in it. I'm requesting to unfreeze that and fund a part-time permanent position for Ms. Hahn.
Questions?
If the permanent position's not approved, how long do you have her temporarily? Like, when does that, I don't,
Technically,
end of these?
end of this month,
Oh, okay,
the 6 month temporary,
gotcha.
which we were talking about, figuring out a way to extend it to the end of the year.
Okay.
Other questions? Thank you,
All right,
sir.
thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Next up, we have the master court.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. First, I'm going to start with our regular non-personnel line items. I'm just kind of go over that real quick, and then we'll dive into the other stuff. The biggest increase that we have for next year is something that the board has already approved, and I'm sure that you're very well aware of, is the case management software upgrade. So that $24,500 requested for 2025 for the technical services, that is encompassing of that decision from earlier this year. That is the entire subscription cost for the year. We pay on a yearly basis and go forward from that. The only other real major things of note, particularly administrative services, we call this our interpreter budget. Constitutionally, we are required to provide interpreter services for non-English speaking litigants, whether that be civil litigants or criminal defendants. For a while, we've been doing very well at not having to use that. We've seen a drastic increase in the number of non-English speaking individuals in the county. And so we are actually currently out of money in that particular budget line item for this year, and we're covering it from other areas that we can. And we haven't anticipated, I was actually very thankful for the interpreter services for the circuit. They provided a very nice breakdown of where this is looking and trending, and it looks like we're going to be almost $6,000 for interpreter services next year based upon our current caseload of non-English speakers. Additionally, the only other major things is, again, we always ask for a little bit more in travel. It does, just cost a little bit extra every single year. We do have one additional conference this year, particularly for one of our judge positions. So that is an additional cost that is just for this particular year. So hopefully we could go back down after that. And then the only two other things that I'll note, books and periodicals, the $6,200 for 2025 that's requested, that is billed cost currently for our Westlaw subscription. So that is a fixed cost right now for where that is currently. That's not just kind of pulled out of the thin air. And then we are eliminating our professional services attorney's budget completely this year. We don't see any need to continue that line item going forward. Any questions on the line items?
Questions? Go ahead.
Okay. The last part that we're going to really kind of focus on is compensation restructuring for judges, as well as kind of some position reclassification and compensation restructuring for the office as a whole. As the board is very well aware, I came into the office last year in April of 2023. So I've had about a year and a half, kind of working with the office as it is, as chief. Prior to that, I was just a regular associate judge and part-time magistrate judge. So I've kind of seen this office kind of work through different things. The main thing that we're looking at from our support staff perspective, from our deputy clerks, our finance clerk, and our chief clerk, these individuals are doing a lot more than just the normal, regular filing of documents and letting that be that. They're actually providing legal service for the court. They're reviewing files, they're checking dates, they're making sure that everything is appropriate. They're actually giving a bullet of the file before it actually comes to a judge's desk, and making sure that everything is worked up. So it cuts down on a lot of our extra having to look at things. So we're requiring them to do more than what they were originally hired to do. That includes going to court and preparing documents. That includes additional, what we would traditionally call legal judicial assistance services. That's what these clerks are doing. I know that there are other courts in this county as well as in the circuit that they have what you would more so consider clerks, and then you'd have kind of a judicial assistant level. So that's what these all kind of fit in. I could see a situation where in 5 years or so, I may be coming back and asking you for an additional body, and that person would be specifically a clerk, somebody that was just there to kind of answer the front desk, man that kind of stuff, do the filings, and not really have to have any additional input or additional duties with regard to legal services. Additionally, all of our clerks are GCIC certified, so they do pull criminal records for us on a daily basis. That is an additional task that we require of them, additional training and things like that we do. Any questions about those before we move on to the judges? No? Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So the last one is the judge compensation for 2025. Again, the board knows once we get into a kind of a 4-year stretch, we're kind of locked in on things. So this is my first election cycle to come in as the presumptive magistrate for the next 4 years. So one thing that we've looked at over the last year and a half is there's a discrepancy in the way compensation is held for part-time judges versus full-time judges. Currently, part-time judges are paid every single hour that they are on call, whether they be sleeping or not, and they're paid their full rate. So they're paid for a total number of 1,456 hours in a particular year at that particular rate for on-call services. Full-time judges are paid their normal salary for their time in the office. And then they're on call, if we take the same calculation method, they're on call an additional 1,700 hours a year. And that is uncompensated time that these judges are not having for that work that they provide. Specifically, one of the things that we've seen is that in 2022, we were at our peak for warrants. We had over 2,200 warrants in the year, and we were sitting at about 10 to 12% of all of those warrants being on call after hours calls to judges. Specifically, I'm talking outside of 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. You know, we're outside of that.
Can I ask a clarification question? Part-time judges get a salary plus their on-call, or their salary is the on-call?
Their salary is the
And then full-time judges get their salary, but they don't get the on-call?
correct.
Okay.
Yep. So what we've seen is the decrease. We've seen a significant decrease in our warrants over the last year. We've actually had a reduction of 50% in our warrants that have been sworn by officers, which is somewhat concerning to us. We're just not seeing that volume on that criminal side for some reason. But at the same time, we had that 50% reduction in overall warrant count. We had an increase of 10% in our on-call after-hours incidents for judge calls. And that's both during the week and outside of the week. To me, it's one of those things that part-time judges provide a wonderful service to us. They do a phenomenal job. They're very well, they're just wonderful, wonderful attorneys, wonderful judges. But we've also have these full-time judges that just, they're providing the same thing. And the compensation is just way, way, way out of whack when you compare apples to apples. So with that being said, one of the things that I'm looking to do is to add some additional supplements to the full-time judges and kind of restructure the part-time judges a little bit. By law, I'm required to certify to you how many hours these judges are working on call every single year. The 1,456 is actually just a number that Human Resources came up with. It has nothing to do with what I have been certifying to the board over the past year and a half. So to be compliant with the law, my suggestion is to reduce the number of on-call hours for the weekend judges down. I think the request that I had in here was a reduction down to about like 900 some odd hours or 800 some odd hours. But then providing, maintaining their salaries at the same rate by providing an attorney supplement as well. Again, we are very, very, very lucky in this county to have an entire attorney bench for magistrate court. Outside of the metro, it is very rare for that to happen. And we are very lucky to have 4 judges that are our attorneys. So that does provide additional savings to the county in terms of less training, less additional services that they'll have to have, less times that they're going to have to be spending just waiting to take calls for anything.
Okay, quick question.
Mhm.
So if I'm understanding it correctly, are these part-time judges going to want, because if you take their case, their, maybe not caseload, if you take their hours from 1,456 to 988, I understand that some of those hours they're not doing anything. But if you reduce it that much, that's a pretty big reduction in pay. Are they going to want to continue doing this?
Well, so that's why I was asking for the attorney supplement to counteract that.
Okay,
What I'm looking to do basically to make it simple on the part-time judges is to take the 4% COLA that was provided to state employees
Right.
this year from what their salary was the year before. Include that. We decide what that number is of the hours that they're going to actually be working. And then the rest of that's their attorney supplement.
what if the caseload from, you said it's down 50% for the warrants, what if that drastically increases in 2025?
Then that would be a decision for me to have to come back and ask for some more
Okay,
funding for these people. I did, but realistically, when we're looking at it, the way that I calculated the number of hours for the part-time judges was going from basically 7 a.m. until like 10 p.m. And they're getting full credit every single hour they're on call for that particular time. And I think it's like maybe half credit or quarter credit for the time that they're technically sleeping
okay.
is what it boils down to. The concern that I have in leaving it at the 1456 just flat is that theoretically under state law, there are some cases that state that a judge should not be paid just a flat rate for on-call time, just for being on call. It should really kind of be, really more what they're actually working and what kind of time restraints we're actually placing on them. Because that is what we're doing, is we're placing a significant time restraint and activity restraint upon these judges, whether that be part-time judges or full-time judges. Part-time judges, they don't schedule vacations with their families. They don't schedule anything else. They're required to have hearings. They're required to be able to answer a call within 15 to 30 minutes at the drop of a hat. Same thing goes for full-time. That burden is somewhat less because you're talking about people that are working during the normal week. However, this occurrence of on-call requests for the full-time judges during the week has, again, gone up drastically to where it is interfering with judges maintaining that work-life balance and or being able to justify, dropping everything at a hat just to be able to go and take a warrant. So that's kind of what the part-time judges I'm looking to do, like I said, just to kind of really simplify that as best I can. Take the 4% increase for the COLA from the state, and that would be what their next year's salary would be. And then we can flesh out the actual hour component as we go along. For the full-time judges, kind of the same thing. One thing that we have done for a number of years, since before I even started, was some comp time that we gave full-time judges to kind of counteract the time that they were spending on call during the week. Specifically for myself, I get 1 day every other week off. And I also take 4 hours every Wednesday off. So what I have done in my calculations is taken what a normal on-call rate would be for somebody and actually deducted all of that comp time out so that it's not getting paid double, if that makes sense. Okay. So additionally, the only other things that I've included in these was there was a supplement for the chief and associate full-time judges that was provided back in 2016. Those have been stagnant at that rate since 2016, and obviously we're in 2024, so I'm just asking for a general cost of living and inflation upgrade to those. I think for the chief, it comes out to about $10,000 from $8,000, so about a $2,000 increase to that particular supplement, as well as for the associate judge, I think it comes out to about $1,500 of an increase. One of the last things that we're looking at is we do a significant amount of work for Superior Court, which is above and beyond what we do as a magistrate court judge, and is partially because we are attorneys. We are able to provide that additional service for the county. Specifically right now, we're focusing on temporary protective orders for citizens of Dawson County. There's only a Superior Court judge in this county building at most 3 days a week. So a temporary protective order can come up at any time. So with us being here every single day, we're kind of uniquely positioned in our circuit to be able to handle those whenever they come. Judge Barger is currently eligible and designated to be a Superior Court judge by the Superior Court judges of this circuit to handle those cases. And that has been his main focus and task for the last year and a half. Last year, he did 26 TPOs all on his own. This year, to date, he's already done over 30. And these are situations in which he's dropping everything at the moment of a hat and coming to the office, and I'm spending 2 to 3 hours working on these cases during the weeks. He requires additional training, requires additional continuing education that you have to do as an attorney to be able to qualify for that. But these are things that we're seeing that are kind of coming down the pipeline. We have been in talks with Superior Court that Magistrate Court potentially will be looking to handle a lot more of the misdemeanor trials for criminal cases going forward, working actual jury trials and everything else to kind of help clear some of that backlog. As far as I'm aware, I believe there's almost over 1,000 misdemeanor cases that are currently in backlog for that. And that's what that means for you is fines. That ultimately results in fines to the county. So hopefully what we're looking to do is kind of transition Magistrate Court to kind of be this quasi-state court kind of entity that allows us to kind of be able to do a whole lot more for the citizens and move forward that way.
Okay. Okay,
Anything else? Any questions?
questions? Okay,
Okay, one last thing I will note, just from when I was reviewing the human resources calculation sheets for judges' salaries, I did notice some inaccuracies. Specifically longevity was eliminated for Judge Tarnacki, myself, and Judge Barger, as well as 2021 cost of living increases were eliminated for those three judges as well. So there are some inaccuracies to the human resources calculations, and feel like that should be addressed. Whether we go with calculations as I've presented for supplement increases and things like that, or if we just kind of go back to baseline, we need to kind of figure out exactly what's going on there. The final thing that I will note is that I did bring to the attention of the administration a supplement that was not paid to Judge Tarnacki this particular year. And it is my assumption or assertion that that particular personal supplement should be paid retroactively, whether that be a one-time lump supplement that's paid in January of 25. That would be an additional $1,815 that I would be asking for that to kind of have back pay for the 2024 calendar year.
What was that supplement for?
It was a personal supplement that was provided specifically to Judge Tarnacki. Judge Thurman was the one that actually got that approved by the board.
You just never received it?
So during the transition, he got credit for it in 2023. In 2024, he has not gotten it at all. I noticed it in February of this year, brought it up, and never was able to get any answers as to why this was missing.
Nothing to do with him going full-time, part-time? Okay.
Like I said, it was a personal supplement. It wasn't a position supplement. Yeah. One thing that I will note is that recently I did get some information from Human Resources stating that the supplement was not overlooked. It was provided to me as a part of the transition process, which I understand to some extent, but however, the supplement was a specific person supplement to Judge Tarnacki himself, not the magistrate judge in that position.
I guess if we look at that, then the increases that Tarnacki had received while he was here, because he had earned those, was a personal thing, not a position thing. But at the same time, you asked for those when you took over the role as a position thing. Is that accurate?
I did ask for that, and the reason why was because of state law. State law requires that the county pay the current salary of that position at the time for the remainder of the term.
Okay, I do have one more question. So if they gave you the supplement that was supposed to go to him, does that mean do we take that back from you to give to him?
Perfectly fine to reduce, if we take my calculations for the on-call hours, attorney supplements, and everything else that we're doing for what I'm asking for next year, if we want to deduct $1,815.
And then, but you got it
Correct.
instead, because I guess maybe there was some confusion that was for the position versus the person.
Correct.
So we could, instead of asking for additional money, we could take that from your 2025 salary and pay it to him.
Correct. That's what I was just saying, was that I would be more than happy to remove that. Yeah, be more than happy to do that if we're all on agreement that we can help build the judiciary for the magistrate court and provide for the actual services that they're providing to the county.
Other questions? Thank you. Right, so let's see. Next up, we got the coroner. Ted, come on up.
Good morning. I don't come here a lot because I don't ask for a lot unless there's really a need for it. First of all, I'll say thank you to all of you for your service to the county. I think you commissioners are kind of like the coroner in that it's not always about the money, it's about the service. And so, but the county's been very, very good to me. One thing I'll tell you is a little sidebar. I have been working for 7 years on a salary bill for the state, for the coroners, because some counties understand it, some county commissioners do not understand the nature of our work and don't want to know. And the ACCG has fought us tooth and nail, and Chairman Thurman has had prayer meeting with them on more than one occasion to try to make them understand a little bit more about how we work and what we have to do. I am in the process of closing a case that I have been working on for 9 years. It was a missing person case. Part of the remains were found, wound up having to pull a lot of strings to get them sent to Quantico for DNA, which takes a long time. And we finally got him identified, and we can bring some closure to this family. So these cases that we work, it's not like we go out there and we pronounce them and we go back to the office and we're done. No, no, no. If they go to the lab, if there's criminal charges, if there's all of these kinds of things, these cases sometimes take months and months and months to ever be able to close. And so obviously it is not a 9-to-5 job. And a couple of things. And I want to thank Natalie and the finance department for taking care of me as well as they do. And I'm looking at the 24 budget and the 25 requested. And there is one thing there that I don't understand that I'm sure will be corrected, is that when you look at the salary line there, it goes down. And as far as me personally, there'll be a longevity that'll need to be added there. The governor gave a statewide raise to state employees, and it's written in Title 45 that when that happens, the coroner gets the same increase. And so I don't know where that 87,047 came from, but I don't feel like that's going to be accurate in the long term. Yeah. So we did ask for a reduction in the contingency fees for private autopsies. And the reason is I actually haven't used any of that money that was allocated. And when it was allocated, it was during COVID, when it was taking 6 to 8 weeks to get bodies back from the anatomical lab that went down for autopsy because of the backlog down there. Sometimes we'd hold a body here 3 weeks before we could ever take it down there. And there is a gentleman that I know, a pathologist, that does private autopsies, and we could turn those around much, much quicker. So I don't want to completely take that money out, but I did ask them to reduce that by $5,000 and use that $5,000 to help to supplement the one thing that I am asking for. And I will tell you this as well. You know and are aware that the county has an agreement with the funeral home for pickups, morgue transfers, and things of that nature. So when we do those things, the county gets a bill. But there are a lot of things that we do that involve travel that the county never pays me for. We use our personal vehicles most of the time. More and more, the medical examiners are asking for medical records going back years. That means subpoenaing records from doctors' offices, from hospitals. Then we have to track those down, and then we have to drive them down to the lab. If they die in the emergency room or in a hospital environment, One thing they are asking for more and more is admission blood. When you go into the ER, they pull a vial of blood and stick it in the lab and hold it for a certain period of time. And if the lab wants that blood, then we have to subpoena it. Then we have to pick it up. Then we have to take it to the lab. And all those things, county's not paying us for. And I'm not asking for anything there. I just said that to make a point that we just make it happen. Whatever we need to do, we make it happen. And a few years ago, we did increase that, but we did have to purchase another vehicle, and you know what gas prices are. And so it becomes more and more expensive for us to do those things, but I'm not complaining. I just said that to make a point. The one thing that I'm asking for this year, and the reason that I'm here is I'm asking for another deputy coroner. Deputy coroners, let me go back to something I started. When we are making our presentations at the Capitol to the committees and to the senators and the representatives down there, there are two counties in this state that we use as an example of counties that know what's going on and treat their coroners fairly. And Dawson County is at the top of that list, and Liberty County down on the coast is the other one, because those two counties are treated very, very fairly. Some of them are not. Let me give you an example of longevity. And I've been doing this 30-something years, but there are other coroners out there that have been there in the 30-year range that don't get longevities. And the reason they don't is because in a county of over 35,000, there is no salary structure written into Title 45. So they're only getting paid case fees, which we eliminated, and there's no salary to attach that to. So that's got to be fixed on a statewide level. And the bill passed the House twice last year and got politicked the last couple of days of the session in the Senate. But let's talk about my deputy coroner position. You've got the paperwork there. You see what these guys make, and they're salaried. And salaried is a fair way to do it because they may take a weekend of call and never get a call. So back when we were doing case fees, you've got somebody that dedicates themselves to this county from 5 o'clock Friday afternoon to 8 o'clock Monday morning. They don't run a call, they don't get paid. And that's not really fair to them. And so when we eliminated case fees, we went to salary. That took care of that. But there are still a lot of deputies in this state that are not getting it. But because of the low salary, for deputy coroners, they are bivocational. They have no choice. I noticed here it's $15,700 a year. Can you raise a family on $15,700 a year? Not very many people could. And so they have to work other jobs. One of my deputy coroners is a paramedic fireman. He works 24 off 48, and he's got to have some time for himself. Lanier, who has been with me forever, as Billy has, he has the state position. He is,
Just so you know, for the record, unpaid.
for the record, Billy doesn't get paid. He's out of town. Sometimes for extended periods. When they were expecting the flooding down on the coast the other day, he had to go to FEMA headquarters in Atlanta, and I think he stayed there 3 days while they were riding that storm out. So he is not available a lot of time. We are tremendously busy at the funeral home. Wesley takes a lot of the caseload off of me, but he operates the crematory. Our cremation rate now is 70%. So he's up all hours of the night operating the crematory and trying to work too. In March, the 17th of this year, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal. Are you all familiar with that article at all? it talked about the people typically up north that would retire and move to Florida. They're not going to Florida now. They're going to what they refer to as Appalachia, and they're stopping there. And as you know, we are the southernmost county of that Appalachian territory. And the article was specifically about Dawson County. And the number of people 65 years and older that are moving into this county. Look at the assisted living facilities that are going up. Look at the elderly communities that are being built, the housing specifically for them. And if you are in a nursing home, which we do not have a nursing home in this county, those people there are considered to be under a doctor's care. And that doctor is going to sign that death certificate 99.9% of the time, unless there's mitigating circumstances, unless it involves a fall with trauma or something like that, then it becomes our jurisdiction. But these assisted living facilities, unless they are under hospice, they are not considered under a doctor's care. And every one of those deaths that are occurring are reported to the coroner's office. That is going to increase our caseload significantly in just the next few years. And that's the reason that I'm asking for this other position is we need to get somebody trained, hired, and even my newer deputy coroners, they don't know everything coming in. And they're out there on that scene and they're burning up my phone. You know, what do I do here? What do I do here? Well, I'm glad to help them. That's why I'm here. And I want them to learn because I want our department to be and continue to be one of the best departments in this state. But we're going to be in a pickle in the very, very near future with all these elderly people that are moving in here. And that's the reason that I'm asking for this new position. It helps take the burden off of us. We can spread out call time and make it a little bit easier on everybody else. One thing that I was planning to ask for, and I'm not going to stand here and ask for it, but I have friends across the state that their counties, they never paid retirement in for them. And they went back and caught their retirement completely up so that when they leave office, they at least have something for their years of service. I noticed there's $786 that's paid in retirement out of my budget. And I think that is specifically for Lanier. And I'm not sure how that works. But in talking to Natalie, I found out that every one of the elected officials here have some kind of different program. And I don't know what kind of program I could fit in. So I'm going to spend my 30-something years and just walk away without that because I don't know what we could possibly do to fix that. But I just wanted that as a note to let you know that yeah, I'm probably the only one that spent 30-something years with the county and will walk away with zero other than what I was paid.
I don't really, in this, speaking to that, because Ted and I've talked about this a little bit, I really don't know why he wasn't added, because every time we've had an elected official, they were added to the retirement plan, and I really don't understand when he came on board years ago, long before anybody sitting here, obviously, why he wasn't added to that, because he is considered a full-time employee, even though he gets part-time pay. Because coroner's office is a 24/7, 7-day-a-week job. So I don't know where that fell through the cracks, but it obviously fell through the cracks at some point many years ago. So I don't know. That's something we can discuss with ACCG. I mean, in Ted's case, because, retirement's based on what you make. And so you go back to when he first started, he might have
It'll be
made
low.
$3,000, for a whole year. So the dollar amount would be probably low if we could buy that up into that, but it is something that we could look at to be, in my opinion, fair to an elected official who's put in 30 years of service to this community. So, I mean, that's something we could take a look at and see if there is a methodology by which we could do something. I don't know.
Tie it to like a standard rate of return for, I mean.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something we can check into though.
If you want to check into it, I'd appreciate it, but I'm not standing here begging for it.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of is what it is.
And then one other thing, and I'll just say this, Ben's fairly familiar with the coroner's office and how it works is, this other position that he's asking for would take, like he said, take the load off of himself mainly because he's the one who basically is the coroner Monday through Friday and even at nights until Friday night at 5 o'clock. And some of his guys help him out with that some, which is great.
My guys are great.
But, that would, you're talking about 8,760 hours a year that have to be covered. So this other coroner will at least get him, because he still takes a weekend rotation, it would at least get him off the weekend. So he doesn't have to do that.
Well, and I'll just give you an example. And this is why my guys are so important to me too. We had a situation just a few weeks ago where every one of my deputies was tied up. There was nobody available. And I got 2 calls back to back. The first call involved a gentleman that weighed almost 400 pounds laying in his bedroom floor. That's when I called the fire department because I can't move a 400-pound man laying in the floor. Got back to the office, got another call immediately in one of the retirement communities. And I get there, he's in the very back bedroom in his bed and he weighs over 500 pounds. And so we deal with some unique situations. And, for me, it's always been about the service to the county and what can I provide to a community that I love with all my heart, body, and soul. And so I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
Questions for Ted?
I've been in this role for 8 years and there's a reason why we're respected in the state. And it's not because of anything that we do, it's because of what you do. And it's evident that you have a heart and passion, not for the job, but for the service, for the level of service, and not for the money. It's for the level of service. And I appreciate every time during the budget process, there's a level of respect and appreciation that you come and we know that you need it. And you wouldn't ask for it unless you truly need it.
Absolutely right.
And that's been the case for the last 8 years as I've sat in the seat. And I appreciate that approach. And I truly appreciate your dedication to what you do and to the people of Dawson County, because I don't know of any other, we have a lot of great people in this community, but you're one of the top that is truly dedicated to people. And I want to say that publicly. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Even though Dawson County handles things like they do, probably 50% of the elected coroners in the state do not get benefits. And there are several that I'm aware of that they are paid and considered contract labor. And that's just not right.
Well, one of the things, and Ted mentioned this, that I had conversation with ACCG and during this time that they've been working on this bill for all these years. One of the things that's aggravating to me when I speak to ACCG and they're so adamantly against the coroners of this state is that we have coroners in this state that are not even being paid what the state law says they have to be paid. And you have commissions in other counties, obviously not this one, that are not even following the law.
Well, when I came to the commission several years ago and asked to eliminate the case fees and go to straight salaries, number one, it was the fairest way to do it. And number two, there's a little bit of a gray area in the law about the case fees that is open for interpretation. And there have coroners that have been arrested and went to prison. One in a neighboring county of ours, for abusing the case fee system. Well, if the case fees are not there, you can't abuse them. And it was a fair thing for us to do, but I know that budget will crunch all the numbers for you, or finance will crunch all the numbers for you, but here again, any questions?
Questions for Ted? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We're a few minutes ahead, so we may need a break. Let's take a break. We'll take about a 10-minute break and we'll be back. started back here. And so next up, we have the library system, Chestatee Regional Library. Miss Leslie,
Thank
come on up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chairman, Board. Appreciate the opportunity to come back before you and give you our 25 library budget request. We tried to match our request for calendar year 25 in the way that they were presented at the budget kickoff, in that the first is for insurance. And we have significant cost increase to insurance. The second is COLA, cost of living. In that we need to be able to pay our staff. And we don't have longevity, although I wish we did, because we do, our branch manager actually in Dawson has been here 17 years. But we don't have the funds or the opportunity or the ability to do those kinds of things. And then the other two requests are for to hire personnel to increase the hours at the main branch. And then finally, for more impact fee money in order to meet the demand of materials, namely digital materials, in that the digital checkouts or circulations for the library system are at 29% of total checkouts. So I provided information. I provided the state health benefit memo. In that state health benefit plan, which is where the library receives its insurance, had a scheduled 3-year planned increase. And we got that one in 24 of $250 per full-time employee per month. We were expecting that same increase in 25, and then an additional 237 in 26. However, we received the memo in June, right before the end of the library's fiscal year, which budgets had already been voted on by our library board, appointed by the board, to go into effect in January of 25, which effectively takes the 25 and the 26 increase and puts it into January. So in 13 months, the library will have went from $843 a month per full-time employee per month for health insurance to $1,580 per month. And that's a significant increase to try to weather. So that is the first ask of 29,220 is purely insurance. It doesn't get us any other services or get us anything else. And then the second of $13,623 is for a cost of living adjustment of 3% for staff.
Question for you in reference to the health insurance. What percentage does the employee pay of health insurance?
Well, this doesn't take into account anything the employee pays. This is just for the employer to provide a smorgasbord of things for them to pick from.
I mean, like when ours goes up annually as well for our employees, we have an 80-20 split. So the county pays their 80 of that increase and the employee pays their 20 of that increase. What does your department do?
Well, the state health, this is all from the state department. This is for state, because we're considered.
I know that.
Well, I know that, but
state,
the
there's
employees,
got to be a breakdown.
but the employees don't get this increase. The employees pay the increase when Cigna or United Healthcare or whatever raises their rates. That's when they see the increase.
The
Not
state's
on the-
raising the rate because their insurance premium is going up.
Apparently, but I mean, so as an employee of the library system, my insurance that I choose goes up, and as in the employer, that part has gone up as well. We can't pass these increases on to the staff.
That's what I'm asking you. What is the split?
What's the split? So like we, as commissioners, we pay 80% at the county and the employee pays 20%. So he's just asking, do you know the split?
No,
between the state and what the state employer?
No, I just know that what their increase is and what they have sent by memo.
That out?
And they said that they did not, these increases that we're paying as as public libraries have not I started in 2016. And this is the first time, last year is the first time they have increased for the employer portion.
Can you find that out though? Can you find out what the
I
split
can
is?
I don't know the answer, but I'll look into that. I know that as directors or 60 library systems in Georgia, we have looked into other options and we don't, by law, we are not allowed other options. We can't join ACCG or we can't get private insurance or we can't do that. We are locked into state health benefit plan.
How many employees do we have here at Dawson
Um, Staff, we have
that work here specifically?
specifically in Dawson, we have 4, 9, 10.
10?
10. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. I had to count Barbara. That's my custodian.
One other thing that I would like to see, and I know annually we've gotten this same breakdown that just basically shows a dollar amount of how
Yes.
much you're asking for.
Yes, sir.
I would like to see that broken down more in line with what we do for our other departments. If we could send her a blank sheet that shows salary, benefits, all the other line items like we use for every one of our other departments, so that we can kind of have the board can have a better idea of where this 500 and something $1,000 winds up.
Nope.
Do you have something like that from the state?
I have, there's only 2 state employees, myself and the cataloger. Everybody else is paid for by the system. And a part of the headquarters that is not paid for by the state, is split by both counties. But we can certainly get you that budget. I know we have given a budget in the past that shows what the salary, what goes to salaries and the breakdown of all the salaries and things of that nature, but we can provide that again.
Thank you. That'd be great. All right, go ahead.
Those are the requests that we have. I know that without county help, our fiscal year ends in June and we will have exhausted our unassigned fund balance by June we'll have $4,000 remaining. That doesn't include, of course, we have some emergency fund set aside that represents about 2 months worth of bills, but we don't have any other wiggle room in our budget. We have trying to be as careful and looking to see where we can cut costs. We have already eliminated 1 full-time position and turned it into 2 28-hour positions. We pay TRS, but we don't have to pay health insurance. So we are looking to mitigate our cost and our expenses to not do that. I know the other county priority was looking at funding more opportunities for more funding and that kind of stuff. And we're looking into grants to cover any other of our technology needs, of any of the things that come our way, from training to technology to resources that our budget would not have to incur. And we receive those, generally speaking, every year. But I do want to speak to the fact that what the services and things the library provides, besides early literacy and things, 1,000 books before kindergartens, we have 106 kids enrolled in that right now. We had 7 graduates of the 1,000 books before kindergarten to go into kindergarten this year, having read 1,000 books. So we're very proud of the number of programs and things that we provide, and that I want to just share one thing with you, that we provide what we call self-directed or take and make activities. And what those are is like a program. We'll open up the room for, say, the cookbook club, and they'll come and have a program, and we provide the space for that, because it becomes a community place. But I want to draw your attention to the fact that we had over 10,100 people come to the library to attend or to do one of those things, in addition to perhaps checking out a book or doing that. So in a county of our size, to know that we had in our main library over 10,000 people come to participate either in what we call a self-directed activity, or to do a take and make, or to do the scavenger hunt, or any of the other what we call passive programming, meaning we didn't have to stand up there and teach something, but we provided space and opportunity for the community to gather, and that we did that. And that we had over 113,000 items check out, both digital and physical. And that is largely due in part to the impact fees. So thank you for that. We do appreciate having those resources. We could not do that if we didn't have that. And that it's just important to be able to maintain these level of services for our patrons or citizens of Dawson County. And we appreciate your support. We know that you support the library, And we will get you the answers that you're seeking. We just ask for your help in order to meet these other basic things that we need in order to operate.
Questions? I know you were asking for an additional $10,000, I think it was, for impact fee budget reference to books and materials, which, I mean, I don't really have an issue with that because the money's there.
Yes, sir.
How much have you been doing over the last couple of years in impact fees?
We, for 24,
Mhm.
calendar year 24, our budget is 35,000.
Okay.
And that plus the state materials grant, which for Dawson County right now for the thing is about 21,000. So between that 21 and this 35 is allowing us to purchase the materials. It's just the demand is greater than what we can manage at this time.
And I know the money's there, so I don't really have an issue with that. That's, I mean, it's in the bank, so. Yeah.
And impact fees? Yes.
Okay.
Cause I know that for our fiscal year, I think, when Natalie gave me the report, I think we had spent like 24 and a half or 26. Cause that's the numbers that I have to report to the state.
Right.
And then to your point on impact fees, I know that, and the board has discussed about changing, some things in impact fees, that there is money set aside for the library. And if the county is interested in building another library branch and to replace satellite, that is a process that we need to get on the state grant list. And the state would provide up to $3 million towards that facility to do that. And we don't need as large a branch as we have here now, but it would mean that we would need staff to be able to operate that building. It takes a few years to get up that list to be able to do that. So that if that is the desire of the board, we do need to get that application and to look into that. And roughly speaking, I think they said it's about $400 a square foot at this time. So we're looking at between $4 and $5 million. And I think that the last time I saw the impact fee money set aside for the library, if that hasn't changed, was $1.5 million. So with the state money, the building itself coming out of pocket probably wouldn't be much. It would be the county commitment to staff it, to do that, if that's the desire of the board. I know that satellite doesn't have as much foot traffic perhaps as the main branch. It only has 2,000 items in that, but there is a need to have library services on that side of the county, on that side of 400. So if that is a desire of the board, we do need to look into getting those applications and a building program and that kind of thing to move that forward, because it would take, under the Gold Dome, about 3 to 5 years to get that funded.
Questions? All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, board.
We do. It's a county building.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. We'll do IT first. Go ahead and get that out of the way if that's okay with y'all. Let's see, in the 2024 budget process, we were extremely conservative in our requests and made that known in last year's budget presentation. I knew then that I would be making some requests this year. Important requests that further the mission of the department and the county. One of the first things we're asking for is a capital purchase of a small truck for use by IT staff to go to different county locations, as well as moving equipment like printers, copiers, computers, all sorts of things like that to different locations around the county. Until now, staff has been using personal vehicles, and I'd like to try and minimize that as much as we can so that they have a vehicle dedicated for that purpose. Getting into some of the line items, licenses, we are at the end of our 3-year contract with Microsoft for Office 365. And so it is time to renew that next year. And of course, Microsoft is going up in their pricing. We're also increasing the number of licenses that we have for email addresses to cover new staff, as well as email accounts that require retention past the employee's employment. The cost for the next 3 years is $65,335.97 per year. And that's a 3-year contract. Previously, it was $47,500. This is a critical part of our communication infrastructure at the county. And so this is a must-have. So technical services, we get support from different vendors for non-critical, highly specialized services. These are things that are out of the ordinary that may come up throughout the year, and we use specialized services from other vendors to help us with that particular project. Those costs are going up, and we have expanded the use of some of those. I'm requesting $30,000 for 2025. Previously, we were at 24,231. Next is internet. We're anticipating some of our internet costs at different locations around the county to go up next year. We are also constantly monitoring all of our different locations and the vendors we use for internet access at those locations to see if we can upgrade service as new service becomes available in that particular area. And when we have that opportunity, we upgrade the service so that we can improve productivity at some of those remote locations. For internet, asking for $80,000. Previously, it was at $76,451. Okay, so not a huge increase there. Travel, our IT staff is on the road more and more. We also have the need to travel for educational purposes. Many times, a lot of the educational events are in the metro Atlanta area. And having a vehicle will help with that, but we also do need to increase our travel costs. I'm requesting $3,000. Previously, it was $2,000. Education and training, we are increasing our focus on staff training across the board. For 25, I'm asking for $3,000. Previously, it was at $1,970. Also, creating a new category for books and periodicals for IT so that we can more correctly identify what some of those purchases are. IT books typically run around $50 or more. They're expensive, kind of like buying textbooks, but not nearly as bad as textbooks, thankfully. So I'm requesting a $400 budget per year for books. And lastly, employee compensation. In the request that you have, I'm requesting an increase of the hourly rate for our IT technician from $18.89 an hour to $24.04 per hour. IT technicians are highly trained and skilled critical staff. Our current technician has exceeded the expectations of this department and has even started cross-training with some of our network administrators, okay, doing critical daily IT work. But we have a overall pay disparity in our IT pay structure. And this probably goes for a lot of different departments, okay? But IT is a little bit different. The gulf between what we pay our staff and what they could be making elsewhere could never be wider than it currently is. And every year, it grows even more. We need to reduce that gap and add additional staff so that we can maintain the level of service and security in the county that our staff and our citizens have come to expect. Sure.
On the small truck, have you asked Shannon, and is there an option in fleet that's available at all?
There is none available.
Okay.
And we have looked at other vehicles that other departments may be changing as a result of the budget process.
Right,
No trucks.
okay.
That's.
Just thought I'd ask.
that's
I
the thing.
figured you went down that road already.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And people have plenty of SUVs, but I really need a truck. Exactly. So,
So yeah, that's where my point was gonna be, is you need the truck to get the larger equipment.
exactly.
moved.
Yep. SUVs, no problem. Truck, people tend to hang on to those. So. All right, y'all ready for GIS?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, just a few things here. Not a whole lot of changes. Licenses. Line item, we're currently using 2 ARC GIS Pro licenses to cover our GIS analyst, as well as our cross trainee and interns. So we need to increase the budget for licenses. I'm requesting 7,000. Previously, it was 6,340. Telephone, this is more of a correction. Previously, our budget had exceeded the phone and mobile data services for GIS. I'm requesting 800. Previously, it was 500. Postage, GIS has taken over mailing out address notifications from Public Works. And we previously did not have a line item for postage for GIS, and we need to add one, and I'm requesting $50 for that. Education and training, just like IT, we are increasing our focus on training for our GIS staff. I'm requesting 1,200. Previously, it was $175. And also like IT, creating a books and periodicals category to more specifically identify those purchases. And I'm requesting $400 for that. Lastly, this is also a new category, computers for GIS. We are in need of replacing the GIS computer. This is not your typical workstation because GIS is a graphics intensive program. And so I'm requesting $3,000 for that for GIS.
What do you send out on the postage? I know Public Works previously did that. What do you send out with that postage?
Notifications of address for
New residents.
new residents and
Residents.
things like that, yes.
So I'm assuming you're not expecting many, because $50 is not gonna buy you many stamps these days.
We don't have that many.
Okay,
And this at least gets the ball rolling on that.
okay.
And if I need to make an adjustment next year, I can. So,
Other questions for Herman? Thank you, sir.
thank y'all.
Calendar here. All right, Mr. James, facilities.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, sir.
I am here to present the 2025 facilities budget. I have a few increases to my operating budget from 24 to 25. I'll start with with facilities, property repair and maintenance. This coming year in 2025, we're going to ask for additional $25,000. 15,000 of that's going to be because of new mandates on the elevator system, specifically the one at the historical courthouse. Apparently the state has new guidelines that we're going to have to endure to, so that's going to be $15,000 for that. However, I would like to mention that I don't think that's going to solved the whole problem with the elevator at the historical courthouse. It's really old. It's over 40 years old and has been giving us quite a few issues over the past. So something we're going to need to look at, looking into in the near future if we're going to plan on using the second floor, continue using at the historical courthouse. Also added another $10,000 because the cost of doing business. My budget was at 175. That is my main line item for about everything we do in facilities. So I added an additional $10,000 to help offset the cost of doing business. On down, you'll see electricity was my biggest next increase. Obviously, this is an energy efficient building. We thrive to do the best we can to make all of our facilities energy efficient. We do LEDs. Whenever time lights go out, we replace them with LEDs. We try to do 3 or 4 different buildings each year with LED products. But unfortunately, Georgia Power is pretty proud of their product, so they've gone up on us. So I'm asking an additional $20,000 in power bills to go from 240 to 260 is basically what we pay. That's not only for this building, that's for a few outlying buildings around town that we take care of.
Let me ask you a quick, let's go back to the elevator issue with the old courthouse.
Correct.
If we're having issues with it, what would it, can you find out what it would cost just to replace it?
Well,
So we wouldn't have issues?
right, I can definitely do that. You know, we did one at the senior center. It's been what, 10 years ago. That's about $120,000.
If you would do that, I think the board would look at that. I think we need to take a look at replacing it instead of just keeping fixing it or trying to fix it.
We use the second floor, correct?
Well, right now, it's only the public defender staff that uses the second floor, but we have been approached a few times from the court system when they have overflow, like they have proposed to want to use it a few times, but was able to not have to have that happen.
Yeah.
But it is the oldest working courthouse in the state, and for that reason, we need to do, you know, something about it. The $15,000 bill is something that they're gonna want done regardless.
Yeah.
So that would be an addition too, but I'll certainly look into trying to get prices on replacing that elevator.
Check it out. Yeah. Okay.
The only other thing I'm asking for increases in my operating budget is obviously natural gas. That's for this building, and we have no control over what they charge us to send it in here. I'm asking for an additional $4,000 to try to meet what I'm dealing with right now. I think I'm over on them 3 already for this year. I think I'll be able to absorb the cost to stay within my budget, which I'm proud to say I've been with them for the last 31 years. I try really hard to stay within my budget, and this will help me take care of that. Be glad to answer any questions on that.
Questions for James? You are doing a good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks.
And so I hear you're going to retire on us as well. So when's that day coming?
That'll be November 1st of
November 1st of this year.
about a month and a half.
Well, I'm glad to see you work all the way up to the end, prepare a good budget process, and you didn't push it off on anybody else to make them do it. All right, so good job. Any questions for James? Thank you, sir.
Did you want to talk about any of my large capital projects?
Yes, go ahead.
I have one very large
Yeah, go ahead.
one.
Yeah.
I had it requested last year for a facilities for the facilities and the outside IT department. As y'all know, Will, Cameron, and Robin work on the outside with us, although they do a lot more than just that. Our building is the Fouts building. It's been there since like 1980. It's in pretty poor shape, and we're requesting to build a 4,800 square foot building out at the old fleet, which is 860 Highway 53 West. I've checked into the price, and I know it sounds high. It's $920,000. That is because I've checked with contractors to see what the going rate is, and the going rate's anywhere from $250 to $300 per square foot. So I went with a number of $275. This is the second year I presented to that. And along with that, I just like to I know y'all already know, but we are out of space in Dawson County for practically everybody. This government center was made to last through 2025. And guess what? In about 3 months, it'll be exactly there. There's a lot of people out there that are needing space all over the county.
This
So
is
I'm
true.
requesting that and hope that the commissioners would consider that. The only other thing on my capital is $28,000 for sealing and striping this parking lot in the government center. And I came to that number by having the companies coming out and look at it and to give me an actual price. So when you see prices that come from facilities, I hope they're pretty accurate because we try to do our home run on the front end instead of on the back end. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Just one question on the building you're asking for. Is that like a open space floor or with a
I
couple
want to try to
offices?
replicate what's been done at the Public Works and the new fleet, just maybe a metal outside. It doesn't have to be elaborate.
Yep.
It's got offices area, obviously a break room and his and her bathroom. It's got like 8 offices. We wanted to try to keep IT with us with Will and Cameron and Robin because it's been that way for a long time. It seems to be working really well. We work really good together. And they help us all the time and we help them. So we kind of have a team. We like to try to keep that together. Also, I feel like it would open more space at the Fouts building for outside companies that are always asking for space in the county.
Plus, we've kind of grown out of space for IT here, right? Yes.
We've gone out of space for everybody here, honestly. But yeah.
Other questions for James? Anything else? Is that it?
That's it.
All right, thank you, sir.
See y'all.
See you.
Last budget presented by James Tolbert.
Well, y'all keep that in mind.
All right.
James wrote that he's increased his horseshoe skills since the county picnic many years ago.
They cheated. They cheated. They cheated. But I'm working on it.
He's working on it.
All right, next up, we have the district attorney, Mr. Darren. Come on up.
Kristen McBride is coming up as my backup in case I need it.
Always need backup.
Always need backup. I appreciate the opportunity to explain what our requests are this year. One of them is actually number 8 on the list of a budget overview form. It's a request for a Synology RS4021 XS plus NAS server with Xeon 2.1 processor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the reason that this is it is such an important request that we are making here, even though it's $20,000+, is that I have asked to be put on the agenda for Thursday afternoon to have it earlier than budget time. We really can't wait on this. It's a matter of having enough storage for the for discovery, including videos and audios and documentation, that we can share this information with the Public Defender's Office primarily, and others as well, but the Public Defender's Office primarily in service of discovery that is required by law. And we're out of space. We're just out of space. I asked Conley Greer, my supervising attorney, whether or not we could stretch it out to the end of the year. And he says, no, we really need to go ahead and ask for the early funding of this. I'll talk about it more on Thursday afternoon because it is such an important item that we wanted to ask for it early.
Let me ask you this, and maybe Herman can answer this as well. How does this work in conjunction with our storage system for IT and everything?
So this, for the DA's office, operates separate from our typical servers, okay? When they're talking about storage space, we're talking about massive amounts of storage space. The amount of video and audio that the DA's office stores far exceeds all of the other county data for every department combined. Okay. Part of what happened there, okay, and IT actually gave the DA's office a large drive, I think 2 years ago,
I think that's right.
somewhere around there. And that's the device that they have filled up, okay? When the sheriff's office upgraded their body cams and the security cameras to 4K video, okay? The file size for those videos went from this to this, okay? 4K video is huge, okay? There's a big benefit to that because they can see more, but it takes up a lot of hard drive space. And because of chain of custody and things like Lee was talking about, they need to retain that. And in order to do that, there has to be a lot of space. And the space that they require far exceeds even with open space that we have on all the county servers. So it's just a lot of data.
So when it, obviously it's something you gotta have, so when this is approved at some point in time, will what was put on what you gave them go into that new system, or will that just stay there and it'll be a separate thing?
It'll be a separate thing. Yep. And the new one that is being proposed has a better upgrade path.
Okay.
So should they fill that up, we can add on an additional device directly to this one. So
Okay.
And what, as far as storage goes, any indication on how long this particular unit may buy us time? I mean, obviously we got to have it now, but is this a, 5-year potential fix? that gives
ideally
us
5 years.
storage?
Yes.
And I know in some of the email threads, I think it was with Will and Attorney Greer, there was discussion about cloud space. And obviously this is very, this is stuff that doesn't need to be out, doesn't need to be hacked or anything along that line. Are there any other counties that use a cloud-based server that has a higher level of protection in this realm that you're aware of?
For the cloud-based service to act as a backup to this new unit, they use 256-bit encryption, which is military grade encryption. So I see no problem with that.
So there's certainly options out there with some form of a cloud server that is higher level of protection.
Yes, there, and 256-bit is about as good as you can get.
Okay.
And that is, I think it's $3,000 a year to be able to have that cloud option. If you were to get that size cloud storage elsewhere, like from Microsoft, Amazon, Google, it's going to far exceed that amount. You're in the $10,000 to $20,000 a year range.
Okay.
So this system that he's asking for would be backed up in the cloud as well as a backup.
That is correct.
Okay, all right.
Anything else?
Nope, go ahead.
Thank you. You bet.
It is important that we have that now. I'll tell the commission that we are trying to make steps to reduce the amount of storage needed, particularly when it comes to misdemeanors. We have a time frame. We have to keep felony cases for 25 years. And that's a long time to retain matters. We believe that we can cut down the usage for misdemeanors, or at least make that a shorter storage period of time over time, so that the need won't be as great as it is now. So I'm making that, if I still need to come Thursday,
Yep,
I
you'll come.
will. But I'll do that then.
Yeah, if you need it earlier than the end of this year, yeah,
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead and come.
So I'll do that. Thank you. We're also asking for increase of salaries for a few people listed: Valerie Edmondson, Jacob Collins, Jason Bales, and Derek Hecht. And a reclassification pay grade increase for Valerie Edmondson, and a reclassification request for Deb Deerwent. Valerie, for example, has been a Dawson County employee since August of 22. She's titled as an administrative clerk. Her duties consist of additional tasks like preparation of subpoenas, preparing discovery, managing offense files, maintaining court calendars. We're really asking for a very modest pay increase here. we request that her pay grade be moved from 5 to 11, but that pay increase is only only an hourly rate of $21.17 to $21.63. So we're just asking that it go to 45 for her, and that her title be legal administrative assistant in doing that. As far as some of the others, I had asked for Jason Bale's salary last year to be, before I get to Jason, here it is. Last year, I had asked that his salary be increased to 72. I'm still asking for that. Presently, he makes 70,554. I just want to increase that to 72,000. And I will note that even though he has a great deal of experience, his investigator salary is substantially lower than the average Hall County DA investigator at 79,823. That's the average for them. And I have cut out of that average, I think this is accurate, Dan Smith's salary, which is a lot more. He's my chief investigator, been around for nearly 30 years now. And I left out of that average his salary. He gets state paid with supplements. So I think it's a very modest increase. I really need more from Jason, but I wanted to be as conservative as I could. Derek Hecht is an assistant DA. I'm requesting that his salary move from 72,000 to 75,000. Meant more than anything else is a retention incentive. I know, and Dawson County probably hates to be compared with Hall County, but nonetheless, I will say this, that I was able to hire someone with similar experience in Hall County. She will begin on December 1st at a mid-range for the ADA position as it's laid out in Hall County, and she'll be making almost $83,000 a year. And here, with about the same experience, I'm asking only for a $3,000 increase for Derek Hecht up to $75,000. He was the new employee that we got last year. Y'all were gracious to give me a new ADA, and I appreciate that very much. But I would like to raise him up. As far as Deb Dearwin is concerned, she's at the top of her pay grade. We'd like to see her reclassified at a higher pay grade for future merit or longevity increases to be applied. And we're not requesting a salary increase, just a reclassification so that she can have more opportunity for growth in the higher level. So I wanted to talk about, well, Jacob Collins. I think I skipped over him. He is a victim witness associate. I believe, Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's the lowest paid victim witness associate that we have. And the salary, and he's been with us a few years now. Very talented young man, and he is our only male victim witness assistant, which is actually a benefit in some particular cases. But I'm looking now for the amount of the request I was asking for him. What was that amount? Oh, thank you. He currently makes $23.31 an hour. We're requesting an increase to $25 an hour. So I think a modest increase for him would be important for us. Other items we're asking for, we need an increase, please, in our books and periodical budget for one subscription to LexisNexis for legal research capabilities. For Assistant DA Derek Hecht and one professional user on top of that, which is included in the amount of $16,020 for the first year, but with future years increased by only $7 a year. And I've put supporting documentation in my request. LexisNexis is one of the primary research vehicles that we have. Westlaw is the other. But here we need that for Assistant DA Derek Hecht. We're asking for an increase of $1,500 in our education and training budget for 2 of our administrative assistants to be certified and trained in Georgia Crime Information Center and to register them for associate training, and additional funds to be used for registration for conferences for our newest assistant DA. So the GCIC, it's important that there are certain legal requirements for GCIC. You've got to meet, and it requires some training. And we need a couple of more certified for that purpose.
This is also currently being run through the sheriff's office, so our office we need it because
Okay.
time that it takes to get.
Oh, okay. This is why I have Kristen with me. It's great. For our GCIC, we're currently having to rely on the sheriff's office, and they are overwhelmed with this as well. And we need it internally within our office to be able to run it more quickly. We need prior records of individuals in order to do our job effectively. So that was the reason that we would like to have certification and training in GCIC and to register them for training that's associated with that.
Have y'all done that in the past?
In the past, we used to a long time ago, I think.
I thought y'all might have, because I know the Magistrate Court does that.
Right. We used to have it a long time ago, and I don't remember why it was that we gave it up at that time, whether it was a budget issue or something else. But it's important to have it internally, much easier to do with.
Speed is a good thing.
Speed is a good thing. Yes, sir. Thank you. Now, all right, we've got, we wanted an increase in our travel fund to $2,000, up to $2,000, that is, to cover per diems and mileage for travel and training for the GCIC conference in August of 2025. And once again, as related to the last item, we must be certified and trained in order for allowance of internal processing of criminal histories. So that's why that increase for the travel fund for that particular purpose. Dues and fees, we're asking for $1,000 to cover state bar dues for Assistant DA Derek Hecht, as well as dues for 2 of our victim advocates to be nationally credentialed and certified in victim services. Then we're asking also for a new color printer. We need $500 for that. Our color printer is about 13 years old, and it's really not producing the quality that we need for court presentation. And we think the cost of ink will decrease with this purpose, with this purchase by about half, because it's newer and that sort of thing. Our investigators need a couple of bulletproof vests. We're asking for $1,000 for those. The current ones are expired. There are occasions where our investigators are out in the field and anything can happen out in the field, and we need their vests to be up to date. For example, I mean, they go out to serve subpoenas. Not everybody who is a witness in a criminal case is of the highest character, as you can imagine. But nonetheless, they are necessary witnesses for us, and you just don't know what you're going to get. And sometimes we have to find them and serve them and do other things, and it's a risky business. And then, of course, I'll talk more Thursday afternoon about the need for the server that we are talking about here. And I wanted to point out something to the commission, just to brag a little bit. Robert Gardner, Assistant DA for us, he's a state paid employee. He also has a county supplement, I think. But he was recently recognized in the state of Georgia as being the outstanding drug court prosecutor for the whole state. And we're very proud of that. And it kind of reflects the good job that he and the others in my office do to serve the county and provide the best prosecution that we can. I will note for you all that we are soon to close the case that's been pending for 5 years that used to be a death penalty case, and it finally ended up being a bench trial. So we're soon to conclude that at much less cost to the county than it would have been otherwise. So I can't talk any more about that, but I just want to let you know we're about to conclude that. Do y'all have any other questions for me?
Questions for Mr. Dara? No, thank you.
All
Thank you.
right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Right, let's see, how far ahead are we?
Pretty far ahead, because I didn't think I was scheduled for 12:15, right?
All right, so. Well, I see Mr. Matt here. You want to go ahead and go, Matt? Yeah, let's go with Park and Rec then. And can we phone the Public Defender's office? Oh. Okay. All right. Come on, Matt. You're here.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to come once again to talk about the Park and Rec and our budget for the upcoming year. How would you like to proceed? We've done it a couple different ways over the last couple of years. How would you like to just jump right into the line items, or?
Yeah, you can start with that. We'll just go by that's the first thing on the list. So
Yes, sir.
looks like you're only talking about contract labor pretty much.
Right. Yes, sir. We've obviously got the couple of 3%, 5% here or there for the cost of living, but contract labor is one that we are going to need to go up on some a little bit, or we are requesting to go up on some or a little bit. Fortunately for us, our officials are not charging us more, but we're just doing more stuff. And with that, of course, that comes with more officials. Plus, we are supplying security for our youth basketball programs at nights, which that goes into that as well. So the number is a little bit higher, and let's see, it's we had requesting it's what is being recommended is 145. We had 135 last year. So that is a little bit of an increase, and we know it is, but it is because we are offering quite a bit more programs, or we have a lot more participants of our programs than we've had. So that's the number for that. I think that the rest of the numbers throughout the line items are pretty much in line with the cost of living that is going, that is happening. A little bit more, we are requesting a little bit more in property repairs and maintenance just because stuff is costing more, of course. But we do have more stuff that we're taking care of now. So we are asking a little bit more in those. The pool budget, I believe, if you look at the pool budget, it's just about a 5 or 6% increase, again, just for cost of living. And just for the record, and for those listening at home, for the Parks and Recreation, we do have 4 different budgets, basically. We have the main budget, which encompasses their park system. We have the pool budget, which has its own budget. We do have a budget for War Hill Park. As you know, we have a 25-year lease for War Hill Park, which is a little different from our other lake parks. So the War Hill Park does have its own budget. I think you'll notice that it is what is being requested is pretty much in line with what we've done. And then our lake parks itself is another small budget on the side. Our agreement with the Corps of Engineers is that they pay most of the utility, they pay all of the utilities, and they do what's called the heavy maintenance. We just do the light maintenance, and we collect all fees. So that's a pretty small budget on the side, but it is a different budget line item. With that, I'll answer any questions that you have about the basic line items that we're doing.
Matt, talk a little bit about, you've got a couple of things listed under machinery.
Yes, sir. Go back to those front pages. We are in need of replacing a couple of our gators that we use just about for everything, whether it's nighttime work or daytime maintenance work. We use the gators a ton, and we've got a couple that are on their last legs. So we are needing a couple of those to be replaced. Where is that page? I'm sorry, I've lost.
Yeah, on here, you've talking about a fill sole, top dresser, and a fill drag.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The fill drags that we use are just what you think they are. They get used a ton, and they're
honestly, they're not really designed for ball fields. They're designed for golf courses, but everybody in Park and Rec now uses those for ball fields and they just get wore out really, really quickly. So the ones that we've had, I think we've had the one there at Rock Creek for the 6 years that I've been there, and it's on its last wheels. And we need to replace that. Top dresser for the infills. Now that we have scraped the infills, we have taken the grass infills off of the ball fields at Rock Creek. We're constantly needing to add sand and soil to those, and a top dresser would just obviously make it a ton easier than doing it by hand. That's been the norm for years, but a small top dresser would obviously help that a ton.
Is that something like it levels it for you as you go?
It does. It does. It puts it out. It distributes sand and soil evenly behind you as you pull it with a PTO.
Okay.
We're asking for request. We as a group, as a team at the Park and Rec, we have made it a commitment for 2025 to bring up the level of safety in our park systems. Not that it's not safe now, and I want to adamantly say that we are extremely safe. But the more that we can do, the better. We need to supply, we need to do some major upgrades to our camera systems inside of our rec centers, and a camera system that would actually cover parking lots and areas of the park itself. So I have met with several different companies, and obviously the one that stands out the most is the flock system, the flock camera systems that are popular around now, especially at roadways and stuff. I've spoken with those guys, and we did a study to see how we could put some in our parks and really get a lot of coverage and do a lot of safety, bring the level of safety up throughout our park systems with those.
Would this include the lake parks that we just took on?
That would include.
Okay, so
Now,
all of them.
Now, the ones for the lake parks would only just be at the very entrance of the park, catching the tag numbers as people come in.
Okay.
It would be almost impossible to cover all the woods and all
Sure.
this.
I just wanted to make sure it would cover portions of those as well, though.
It would, yes,
Okay.
but it was basically, it's only just going to cover the entrances
Okay.
of the lake parks. Now, the ones for Veterans Park and Rock Creek, we have put together a prototype that would actually have a pole here, and it would cover the entire parks. And it was the technology that is with those are just amazing, that you can almost see a confrontation 300, 400 feet away and almost read the lips of the people. So it's really, really, it really supplies a ton of coverage for us.
So are you looking at something in addition to the flock cameras? Because the flock cameras just read tags, correct?
Well,
Or do they offer another
They
level?
offer another product.
Another
As
product
well
out
with it.
there, okay.
Yeah, okay, so we are in pretty desperate need of an upgrade for our rec centers, the cameras inside the rec centers. Yes, we do have cameras at Rock Creek, and yes, they work. But if you were to retrieve any very needed, and we've had to do that recently, you almost have to just take a video on your phone of what you're seeing on the screen so you can get it to the sheriff's department. We have to upgrade that. We need to be able to, in real time, go on a computer screen and see what just happened and why it happened. And these new systems allow you to do that. What we have now is it's good, but it's not near what it could be. And we as a team have just decided that in 2025, we're bringing the level of security, surveillance, and safety up.
So with the flock cameras, the ones that are not just the tag readers, do they maintain the storage as well in their
Yes.
cloud system?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could, I should have came more prepared to do a presentation on those, and I'll be happy to once we move forward with this a little bit later on. But yeah, those systems are designed where they have like a week's worth of storage. If you have an incident, somebody breaks into a car, you go back a couple of days and you pull up the system on your computer, it will zoom in on the car and see exactly what happened. It's really, when I met with those guys, they showed me where they had caught some guys stealing some catalytic converters. And, they just showed up one day and they were gone. Well, they pulled back on. It was amazing what they were able to do and see. So I can tell you that these systems are, they're a little more expensive, of course, but they supply an enormous amount of coverage for our park systems.
Okay, I do have one more question.
Come on.
So you had said that it would just be at the entrance of the other parks.
For the lake parks,
Mhm.
yes.
Is it because of cost? I'm not saying cover the whole park, but like, I don't know War Hill where the camping is. Are there restrooms?
There are.
Because I would like to see one maybe there and then at like Nick's or Toto Creek,
Mhm.
put
Boat
one.
ramp at Toto Creek is obviously the problem.
Yeah, but also what about like the walking trail? I know you couldn't do the whole thing, but I know a lot of people walk right there.
Mm.
I feel like,
That is a great conversation that I would love to have with you sometime because those are needed.
yeah, I just would like to see, before we vote on budget, I'd like to see the cost of maybe a few more.
Yeah.
Just
I'll be
at those lake parks,
don't I do
because now
this?
that they're highly used, I mean, they've always been highly used, but now that we have, it kind of falls on us, some of the responsibility falls on us for safety.
Sure.
I would like to see that increased. If we're gonna increase it, like, let's do it right.
Right. Well, you're exactly right. That walking trail at Toto Creek goes way through the woods.
Yeah,
And
it
goes
does.
way around. So to that, it would be impossible to get the whole thing.
Sure,
But if you had certain areas.
just where maybe they enter and they, yep.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
definitely.
And then
do
at the
that.
campground at War Hill, just
Yep.
even if it's at the bathrooms, maybe on like two of them where it kind of points
Mm-hmm.
out. Those are just some options, but I would just like to see how much more.
I will come up with an addendum to get you to that with an additional, what would almost be a projected cost of that, and then I'll get that back to you just as soon as possible.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. But that's our commitment as a department this year, is we want to bring up our safety and our surveillance of our parks. We are now moving forward to the other personnel requests. We are asking for one more maintenance person again this year. We've handled the lake parks this year, and I think my guys are awesome, and we've done a fantastic job. We really need one more to handle the lake parks, especially during those and really May through really just Labor Day weekend. The Monday, Tuesday after a full weekend, it takes all of us. We've had all hands on deck several times to try to get the trash picked up, the bathrooms cleaned up, just the general use. The foot traffic at the lake parks is a little bit more than what I even thought was going to be. So we are requesting an additional maintenance person to help with that lake parks. We've only got 2 guys right now managing those 4 parks. I would love a third.
Is there a possibility of making it a summer job like the pool situation? If they're only needed from May to September?
Let me rephrase that. I didn't phrase that
Okay.
very well. They're needed all year.
All the time. Okay.
Because
Okay.
for example, my guys, we just met recently and we've came up with a list of unbelievable things that's going to
Okay,
be the
just thought
winter
I'd
projects.
throw it out there if it was
No,
only needed.
I misspoke right there. That is needed all year. And also a programmer, we're requesting to have a programmer to handle all of our lake park situations, everything from rentals to the staff that's on site to everything that goes into not only our lake parks, but also our Styles Park that we will be opening next year. So this particular person that we are requesting will be covering every out park that we have, whether that's the river park where the canoe put-ins are, whether that's Styles Park, which is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be a beautiful project, but it's going to need somebody to handle the programming side of it, as well as our 4 lake parks. So that is a needed position that we are requesting as well. And with that, I'll be happy to try to answer your questions.
Any other questions for Matt?
The only question I have, and this is just, I guess, more for personal knowledge, but I know you requested Gators. Is there a particular reason why we go with Gators over any of the other UTV brands that are out there
The
now?
only reason, I'm just familiar with those, number one, and number two, we have a state contract with
Okay.
those. Let me rephrase. We need utility vehicles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we
I
don't
mean, I
have,
certainly don't want to go to the bottom of the line and get something that's not going to last,
for
you
sure.
know, but
for
I
sure.
just know that I buy equipment as well, and
Yeah,
John Deere little logo, they're pretty proud of that.
they are.
So,
They are, and that's a great conversation I'd love to have with Melissa or whoever later on. I just put that as a generic term because that's what we have now. We're
perfect.
replacing the 2 that are barely moving anymore. They have really.
How
served
old
us.
are they? Just out of curiosity.
We have one gator that we still use at Rock Creek that's probably pushing 20 years old. That is, it's barely got any life in it. It still picks up a trash bag, but it's time to replace the old boy.
That's some durability.
Yep. We definitely get our money out of those. Now, the field drags, they're just a little different. What we do with those field drags is just, you drag 7 or 8 ball fields in a day, and you do that every day with the dust that it collects and the mud. It's just hard on those. So they only last 5 or 6 years.
Other questions for Matt? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, let me also say how incredibly fortunate we are that Vicky and Natalie handle this process for us. It makes it extremely easy. Extremely easy. They do a great job for us. Thank you.
All right, there's your lunch right there.
There you go. Whatever you want.
All right. Is the DA ready? Public defender ready? All right, come on. You're definitely not Brad, so you just have to give us your name.
I'm Sarah Willis. Good afternoon, morning.
And
It's
still morning,
right?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me know when y'all are ready.
We're ready.
Our office, the Public Defender's Office for Dawson County, we obviously share an office with the other office in the circuit, Hall County. However, our office currently has, the staff includes 3 attorneys. One of those is myself, which I'm paid by Hall County, and I spend a lot of time in Hall County. So really, I would say 2.5 attorneys. We have 1 investigator, an admin assistant, and a legal assistant. What we will be requesting this year is a new position, 1 more administrative assistant, as well as salary increases for our 2 assistant public defender positions, the ones that are Dawson County employees. Obviously, the root of our request and the root of the issue we're seeing here is how quickly Dawson County is growing. For example, our legal assistant, Courtney Woodall, she's worked here about 6 years. When she first started, there were the file cabinet had 2 drawers, and those were all the cases. Now we have 5 file cabinets. And with all that growth, just to kind of give y'all something to picture, with all that growth, our staff has only grown by 1 admin assistant. Obviously, our job and our concern in the office is to make sure that indigent clients receive the best representation that they can. And we need help to do that. So while we're not asking for another attorney, having another administrative assistant would really benefit our office to field phone calls, organize cases. They can go to the jail for us. Like I said, field phone calls, that's a huge one. With our staff being quite small, when we do have court over here, we usually take a couple of them with us because the attorneys are going to be in the front arguing. We need staff back there to, kind of wrangle the clients and answer questions and stuff like that. So oftentimes our office, while we're in court, will either only have 1 person over there or possibly no one, depending on, who's there that day. That creates problems with 1, clients are calling, no one's there to answer the phone. 2, clients are trying to pop in, and we obviously lock the doors when we leave because we also share that with the Historical Society, and our confidential files are in there, so we have to lock it. So that's one of my personal main concerns, is the fact that we need someone to always be in the office. And with the amount of staff that we have right now, sometimes that's not possible. With that being said, just to give you all another comparison to look at, We handle about 95% of all criminal cases. The DA obviously handles 100%. Their staff is currently at 15 people and ours is at 6. They have more attorneys, more support staff, and we're not asking to catch up to them, but we handle almost as many cases. And so we really do need close to the amount of support that they need. And they're not receiving too much for what it's worth. We just want to be a little bit closer to where they're at. So specifically, the first thing that we will be asking for is the new position, the administrative assistant. We're asking for a base salary of $35,630. That's $17.13 an hour. Like I said, this person's duties are going to be phone calls, organizing files, working with the budget, maintaining calendars, just all of the necessary stuff that has to happen to keep our office organized.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
So it shows on the human resources recommendation, 35,630, but it actually shows that you guys requested 38,000. Are y'all good with the base salary or do you feel like the 38,000 is where it needs to be?
So I'll actually ask our office manager that.
Yes, the 35, that's what.
Okay, so our other administrative assistants started at
The 35,630.
That's what we're
We're
asking
good with that.
for.
Okay.
Mhm. Yes, sorry about that
No,
confusion.
that's okay.
Like I said, we need this person to keep our office organized and functioning, and we want people to have zero concerns when they're appointed a public defender. There's the stereotype that we're overworked, and I argue that we're not, but we could definitely use some help in, keeping things organized. So that's the new position that we're asking for. The salary increase we're requesting, like I said, is for the 2 assistant public defender positions. One of those is our newest attorney. His name is Matt Pleasant. His current salary is $67,190. We're asking for his salary to match what I believe is the DA's starting salary at $73,000. Regardless of what their salary is, he's a new attorney. He's taking on a lot of responsibility. Like I said, I'm not up here all the time. And so we have one somewhat experienced attorney with a couple years experience. And then we have Mr. Pleasant, who is new, and he's really dived right in, but I think he deserves a little bit more compensation. And like I said, we like to be on the same playing field as the DA and what they do their starting salaries at. So we feel that.
Let me ask you a question there.
Uh-huh.
The 2 assistant public defenders, are they county employees or state employees? Are we paying them or is the state paying them? We're paying them.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, I know we have, the merit system increase and all that stuff that's associated with that. So just wanted to make sure that they were both county employees. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm a little confused here. I see where you're requesting to increase the starting salary, but then it says 73,000 is the starting salary for the state and the Hall County employees. So we're just trying to increase his current pay to what theirs is at the 73.
Correct.
So would that be something that we, not just for him, but we would increase that salary just moving forward if we decided to do that for that position in general, not just for this person? Okay. Standard. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're requesting the base salary to be. Regardless, when we're posting jobs, we want to be competitive with other offices.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, you're correct. One of the reasons that we're requesting an increase here is the Dawson County employees that are contract employees with the state, they don't receive all the benefits that the full state employees receive. So the COLA increase, there's a 4% one with state employees this last July. They didn't receive that. And in the past, they haven't been able to receive similar kind of boosts or
But they would be
increases.
getting the merit increases though if they're county employees, correct? And the longevity. Yeah, so as county employees, they are eligible for those. So, yeah, okay.
Okay.
So how long, let me ask you this, how long what's the longevity for each one of these two positions?
The first attorney that I was speaking of, Mr. Matt Pleasant, he interned with our office a couple years ago, but as far as a paid full-time position, he started in May.
Okay,
The next position that I'll be talking about is our more seasoned attorney, Mr. Miles Voss. He's been with us for 2 years.
okay.
What we'll be asking for Mr. Voss, he's also at the base salary of 67,000. Well, that's what he started at, but we're requesting $4,000 increase for him to 76,313 and 23 cents. Like I said, he's been here a couple years. He is a resident of Dawson County. With me, I was am the head of that office, but like I said, I'm not there all the time due to some duties in Hall County. And Mr. Voss has taken on a lot of responsibility. He's now our attorney that does the accountability court programs, which is a second job all on its own. Both he and Mr. Pleasant have huge caseloads due to the fact that we only have 3 attorneys and a lot of clients. So for those reasons, we would be asking that Mr. Voss receive an increase. I think he's at a point where he has earned it. I think that would be great encouragement for our office as well. So, like I said, to summarize, we are requesting a new administrative assistant position and 2 salary merit increases for our 2 assistant public defenders, Mr. Voss and Mr. Pleasant.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions? Yes, sir. Come on.
The problem we have, here we have 3 types of employments. We have people who are state, we have spacers, state paid, county reimbursed, and we have Dawson County employees. When the system started statewide, most of the county did these spacers. And you paid the state 10% more. They became state employees, got state insurance and other various benefits. Hall County didn't ever do that. They said their admins were as good as the state's. Dawson County initially did, so we had that for 2 positions. Then Dawson County decided they wanted to administer them too, which is good. So we have Dawson County, Dawson. The problem with the spacer people is because the state has bonuses and they also have COLAs, but they don't get it on the spacers because they're Dawson County paid for. And those people also don't get Dawson County COLAs. And so they can be there for long periods of time and never get an increase because they don't get Dawson County COLAs. They don't get the state COLAs. And we need to find some way to have an elevator up on those positions because nobody wants to have a job that there's no chance of getting a raise in, which is kind of what COLAs usually, how you get those raises and things. And it's just one of those anomalies.
How many people are in that situation?
I think 2, right? So that there were never that many, but those people are kind of stuck in that situation and we need to try to find some way. I talked to one of the other CPDs over in Athens and apparently they just somehow they work it out through the state so that the money goes to the state and they're able to add the state additional COLAs or whatever they did. I mean, last year or so, the state gave bonuses, to state employees. But our people, and our state employees, spacer people, didn't get bonuses because they were the spacer people, not state employees. And so it makes it kind of problematic having these four different types of employment like we have in our office. All of them a little different. And, you know, you have to kind of work to kind of keep them balanced because you don't want people wanting to leave because they're not having any chance compared to somebody who's a Hall County or state employee or something like that.
Are you saying a spacer person, we're paying that person through the contract
Yeah.
that we have with the state? And it's part of the money that we're giving the state as part of the contract?
That's part of the contract with the state. And you have a contract with Dawson County.
Yeah.
To have positions, but that's the contract. That's what it's called. It's state paid, county reimbursed is what the spacer means supposedly. And it's been it's been a problem for us. And also, I think she mentioned about the administrative assistants. I think the DA's office is like 16 people and we have 6, and we do the same thing. And it's just, the judges are complaining that we don't have everybody on our desk in our office, but our people, we have 3 administrative people, and they're either investigators, they're at the jail, they're in the courthouse, and all that kind of stuff. And so we really need to be able to catch up because it's just such a backlog. You can't really go against very well, having 6 people against 16. In the Hall County, we have the same situation. And so we really like for y'all to consider, that administrative positions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? All right, thank you. I think that's our last one for today. And so with that, we'll be adjourned.